Oh, what do I remember most about my childhood? Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, if you want to know.
That's great.
Steve McQueen, a name synonymous with charisma, swagger, and timeless cinematic excellence, has etched his legacy as one of the most celebrated actors in the history of film. With a dazzling career spanning the 1960s and 1970s, McQueen's piercing blue eyes, rebellious attitude, and magnetic on-screen presence captured the hearts of millions. From Bullitt to The Great Escape, McQueen not only became the face of a generation, but also a symbol of masculinity and an embodiment of the American dream. But as the saying goes, you can't please everyone. Even a Hollywood legend like McQueen had his fair share of detractors. Critics and co-stars often found themselves on the receiving end of his legendary aloofness and stubbornness. Some even went as far as to describe him as difficult, inscrutable, or even downright unpleasant to work with. Besides all this, there are lesser-known chapters of Steve McQueen's life and career exploring the reasons behind the animosity and uncovering the truths that have remained hidden for decades. So get ready to take a walk on the wild side of Hollywood history and reveal the people who completely hated the legend Steve McQueen.
10 days isolation, Hiltz.
Captain Hilt.
20 days.
Oh, you'll still be here when I get out.
Steve McQueen, often referred to as the King of Cool, was an iconic American actor and one of the most influential figures in the history of cinema. Born on March 24, 1930 in Beech Grove, Indiana, McQueen's life was a fascinating journey marked by ups and downs, stardom, and a lasting legacy that still captivates audiences today. Growing up was not easy for McQueen. His early life was marked by a turbulent childhood, with his father abandoning the family shortly after his birth and his mother struggling to make ends meet. He spent much of his early life in the care of his grandparents. At 16, he left home and found himself in trouble with the law, which eventually led him to join the U.S. Marine Corps. It was during his military service that he discovered a love for acting in a production of Mr. Roberts. After being honorably discharged, McQueen began his journey as an actor. He first studied at Sanford Meisner's Neighborhood Playhouse in New York City, refining his craft. His first break came in the early 1950s when he started landing small roles in television shows like Wanted, Dead or Alive. His rugged looks and charismatic screen presence quickly caught the attention of casting directors. McQueen's big break came in 1958 when he starred in the sci-fi horror film The Blob. While the movie wasn't a critical darling, it helped him gain recognition and set him on the path to stardom. He continued to build his reputation with films like The Great Escape 1963, where he played Captain Virgil Hilt, and The Cincinnati Kid 1965. It was in the 1960s and 1970s that McQueen truly solidified his status as a Hollywood legend. He was known for his intense and often anti-hero roles in films like Bullitt 1968, famous for his groundbreaking car chase scene through the streets of San Francisco. The Thomas Crown Affair 1968 showcased his suave, debonair side, and Papillion 1973 demonstrated his versatility in intense dramas. One of McQueen's most iconic roles was in the Le Mans 1971, a film that showcased his love for racing. He was a passionate and skilled race car driver, which was evident both on and off the screen. This love for speed and racing was a defining aspect of his persona, and he even competed in the 1970 12 Hours of Sebring race. Despite his remarkable success, McQueen's personal life was often tumultuous. He was married 3 times, first to Nell Adams, then to Ally McGraw, and finally to Barbara Minty. His marriages were marked by ups and downs, mirroring his complex personality. Tragically, Steve McQueen's life was cut short by cancer. In 1980, at the age of 50, he succumbed to mesothelioma, a rare form of lung cancer. His death marked the end of an era in Hollywood, and the world lost a true icon. Even today, Steve McQueen's influence on popular culture remains palpable. His timeless coolness, memorable roles, and love for fast cars continue to captivate audiences. Whether it's his classic films or his legendary persona, McQueen's legacy lives on, making him one of the most enduring and beloved figures in the history of cinema. While Steve McQueen is undoubtedly an iconic figure in the world of cinema and is loved by many, Like any public figure, he also had his share of critics and detractors. His tumultuous personal life was marked by multiple marriages and occasional brushes with the law. His relationships, divorces, and alleged infidelity garnered public attention and scrutiny, leading to a negative perception of him among some people. His personal life often played out in the tabloids, and his exposure could have contributed to the less favorable opinions held by some. McQueen was known for his strong personality and, at times, his clash with directors and co-stars on movie sets. Some individuals found his behavior to be egotistical and challenging to work with. His reputation for being demanding and having a strong-willed attitude may have led to negative perceptions in the film industry. His rebellious nature and involvement in high-risk activities like racing and motorcycling contributed to his image. While many admire his love for speed and adrenaline, others saw it as reckless behavior. This aspect of his life, combined with occasional injuries from these activities, could have led some to disapprove of his choices. Moreover, McQueen's political and social views were a source of controversy. He was a Republican and held conservative viewpoints, which contrasted with the more liberal stances of many in the entertainment industry. The ideological divide may have caused some to view him unfavorably, especially those who did not share his political leanings. Besides this, in the competitive world of Hollywood, actors often have rivalries or competition with their peers. Some actors and industry professionals had personal or professional reasons to harbor ill feelings towards McQueen. This competitiveness and the dynamic of the entertainment industry led to filthy opinions about him. The feud between Newman and McQueen was one of the most legendary rivalries in Hollywood history. Both of them were the most prominent stars during the 1960s and 1970s and were known for their rugged good looks, rebellious attitudes, and exceptional acting talents. However, their careers were marred by a fierce and long-standing rivalry that eventually escalated into outright hatred. The feud between Newman and McQueen had its root in the early 1960s, when both actors were in the running for the role of Butch Cassidy in the film Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Ultimately, Paul Newman secured the part, which Steve McQueen believed he deserved. This initial disappointment festered, setting the stage for the rivalry that would define their careers. Again, in 1974, the two Hollywood heavyweights were cast together in the disaster film The Towering Inferno. While the movie turned out to be a massive box office success, the set was rife with tension. Newman and McQueen clashed over a multitude of issues, from top billing to the number of lines in the script. Their disagreements sometimes escalated to physical altercations on set, revealing the depth of their mutual animosity. One infamous incident occurred during the filming of a scene in which they had to jump from a helicopter onto the roof of a burning building. McQueen, renowned for his love of daring stunts, insisted on performing the leap himself, despite being explicitly advised against it by the director. In the end, McQueen's insistence resulted in an injury, and he was furious at Newman for not joining him in the dangerous stunt. He reportedly called Newman a chicken shit that further intensified their feud. This rivalry continued unabated for the remainder of their lives. The two iconic actors never reconciled, and they never spoke to each other again. It's challenging to pinpoint a single cause for the feud between Newman and McQueen, but it likely resulted from a combination of factors: their fierce competitiveness, contrasting personalities, and the tremendous pressure of being two of the most celebrated stars in Hollywood likely all played a role in their ongoing discord. In the end, the feud between Paul Newman and Steve McQueen stands as one of the most legendary rivalries in the history of Hollywood. It's a tale of two remarkably talented actors driven by their own egos and ambitions, unable to overcome their differences, and ultimately leaving an indelible mark on the annals of Hollywood history. Much like the rivalry between Paul Newman and Steve McQueen, another Hollywood feud that grabbed headlines was one between Steve McQueen and Yul Brynner. This showdown of egos unfolded on the set of the 1960 film The Magnificent Seven, where Brynner, an established star, clashed with McQueen, an up-and-coming talent. The trouble began with jealousy. Brynner, the veteran actor, was said to be envious of McQueen's natural charisma and good looks. He was also displeased that McQueen's character received more screen time than his own. McQueen, on the other hand, harbored resentment towards Brynner's top billing and his demeaning behavior on set. He also found it vexing that Brynner was given a grander horse and a fancier tool while shooting. Their disagreements extended beyond mere jealousy. Reports suggest that these two actors clashed regularly on set, leading to of physical altercations and harsh verbal exchanges. One memorable incident involved McQueen kicking over a mound of dirt Bryner had created to stand on, making himself look taller. This act infuriated Bryner, and he responded by grabbing McQueen by the shoulder and issuing threats. Their feud didn't end when the camera stopped rolling. Bryner and McQueen avoided each other at social gatherings and refused to communicate. It seemed like the bad blood between them would last indefinitely. However, in the early 1980s, Bryner received a devastating diagnosis of lung cancer. This critical moment became an unexpected turning point. Bryner reached out to McQueen and apologized for his behavior during the filming of The Magnificent Seven. McQueen forgave Bryner, and the two actors reconciled shortly before Bryner's death in 1985. The saga of Yul Brynner and Steve McQueen serves as a compelling reminder that even the most successful individuals can have their differences and disputes. Their feud was a testament to the tensions that can arise in the highly competitive world of Hollywood, where personalities, ambitions, and egos collide. Yet, it's also a testament to the capacity for reconciliation, showing that even the most bitter of enemies can, under the right circumstances, mend fences. The rivalry between James Garner and Steve McQueen added another layer of drama. These two renowned actors, who were among the biggest stars of their time, shared more than just the silver screen. They were neighbors as well, but their relationship was far from neighborly, with reports of a contentious and complicated feud. The exact source of their feud remains shrouded in mystery, but a few theories have emerged over the years. One theory suggests that McQueen harbored jealousy towards Garner's success. During that era, Garner was not only popular, but also critically acclaimed, and McQueen may have resented his achievements. Another theory delves into the personal realm. McQueen, known for his possessiveness and insecurity, was rumored to have been suspicious of Garner's relationship with his first wife, Nell Adams. The notion that Garner might have been involved with Adams seemingly fueled McQueen's mistrust. Their animosity spilled onto the set of The Great Escape, a classic film in which both Garner and McQueen played significant roles. Garner was said to be frustrated by McQueen's unprofessional behavior and demands for top billing, further straining their relationship. After this film, Garner and McQueen seemingly avoided working together. However, despite their differences, they couldn't avoid their neighborly proximity. Garner and McQueen lived near each other, and their feud reportedly continued off the set. Stories of their dispute are intriguing glimpses into their less than amicable relationship. Despite the tension, they managed to maintain professionalism when required. They co-presented at the 1966 Academy Awards and even starred in a commercial together in 1974. Nevertheless, their feud never truly healed. In his 2011 memoir, The Garner Files, James Garner described McQueen as a stubborn little cuss and noted that he was not a bad guy, just insecure. The complex relationship between James Garner and Steve McQueen serves as a reminder that even the brightest stars can cast shadows of rivalry and conflict. Well, in the glitzy world of Hollywood, where careers and egos collide, it's not uncommon for personal differences to simmer beneath the surface. Garner and McQueen, despite their immense talent and success, couldn't escape the gravitational pull of their mutual animosity. Besides major rivalries, Steve's feuds with his cast fellows were a dominant part of his career. The clash between Charles Bronson and Steve McQueen began during their collaboration in the 1960 film The Magnificent Seven. Their feud was one of Hollywood's long-standing and well-known rivalries. On the set of The Magnificent Seven, McQueen's behavior was frequently described as unprofessional and disruptive. He had a reputation for being consistently late, and he would often refuse to deliver his lines as scripted. McQueen's rebellious nature and his readiness to challenge authority figures added to the tension. In contrast, Charles Bronson was seen as a more serious and professional actor. He took his work seriously and expected the same level of professionalism from his co-stars. McQueen's behavior grated on Bronson, who felt it was not only unprofessional but also disrespectful to the cast and crew. Their clashing personalities and work ethics reportedly led to several conflicts on the film's set. Unfortunately, their feud didn't end with the movie's release, but continued for years afterward. In a 1977 interview, Bronson pulled no punches when he described his working experience with McQueen, saying that McQueen was the most unprofessional actor I've ever worked with. Bronson went even further, labeling McQueen as kind of annoying and firmly declaring that he would never work with him again. Sam Peckinpah and Steve McQueen were working together on the 1965 film Junior Bonner, a western flick telling the story of a rodeo cowboy returning to his family's ranch. But their collaboration was far from harmonious. The two frequently clashed on set, with McQueen grumbling about Peckinpah's meticulous attention to detail and the slow pace of work. On the flip side, Peckinpah grew frustrated with McQueen's rebellious streak and his penchant for making script changes without permission. The breaking point arrived during the filming of the movie's climax, a scene where McQueen's character was thrown from a bull. McQueen, known for his penchant for daring stunts, wanted to perform the stunt himself, but Peckinpah balked, fearing McQueen might get hurt. Hours of heated argument later, McQueen stormed off set. In response, Peckinpah fired McQueen from the film, but the studio intervened, forcing him to rehire McQueen. Despite McQueen's return, the damage to their relationship was irreversible. Similarly, McQueen faced a similar tumultuous relationship with director John Sturges, who was the creative force behind two of McQueen's most iconic films, The Magnificent Seven and The Great Escape. While filming The Magnificent Seven, McQueen was reportedly dissatisfied with the screen time allotted to his character and frustrated by Sturges' meticulous planning and unwavering attention to detail. Clash after clash occurred, leading to McQueen briefly walking off the set. The stormy weather continued on the set of The Great Escape. McQueen's unhappiness with the script and creative differences with Sturges once again took center stage. Reports even suggested that McQueen was envious of the attention bestowed upon his co-star James Garner. However, despite their differences and disagreements, McQueen and Sturges managed to create two classic films together. Nonetheless, their relationship remained strained, leading to their decision not to collaborate on any more projects after The Great Escape. It's challenging to pinpoint the exact reasons behind McQueen's recurrent difficulties in getting along with directors. His complex and contradictory personality, marked by a rebellious and anti-authoritarian streak, may have contributed. McQueen was a perfectionist with high expectations for himself and those he worked with. Surprisingly, McQueen never publicly responded to Bronson's scathing criticism. Nonetheless, it's evident that their mutual dislike for each other was deeply rooted and long-lasting, casting a shadow on their collaboration in The Magnificent Seven and their Hollywood careers. Another interesting feud was the epic clash between Robert Redford and Steve McQueen, whose origins date back to the late 1960s, when McQueen was offered the part of Sundance Kid in the classic film Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. However, McQueen had a particular stipulation. He insisted on top billing over Paul Newman, who was cast as Butch Cassidy. At the time, Paul Newman was already a bigger star than McQueen. He firmly refused to relinquish top billing, and McQueen, in turn, declined the role. Ultimately, it went to Robert Redford, and the chemistry between Redford and Newman was electric. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid became a beloved, wildly successful film. McQueen reportedly held a grudge against Redford, believing he'd lost his chance at stardom. He also held the opinion that Redford was a lightweight actor who didn't deserve the acclaim he was receiving. This feud caused them never to work together, and their mutual animosity persisted for decades. In 1974, both McQueen and Redford were cast in the star-studded disaster film The Towering Inferno. McQueen again insisted on top billing. This time, the producers conceded, but there was a catch. They also granted top billing to Newman and arranged the credits so that either actor's name could come first, depending on how you read them. McQueen was incensed. He boycotted the film premiere and publicly criticized Redford, labeling him a phony and a sellout. The feud endured until 1980, when McQueen's battle with cancer ended his life. At that point, Redford released a statement expressing respect for McQueen as both a great actor and a complex, fascinating individual. He also expressed regret that they had never been able to reconcile. Despite his enduring popularity and celebrated career, Steve McQueen was a figure marked by a series of controversies and scandals that at times overshadowed his remarkable talents. In 1963, McQueen's troubles with the law began when he was arrested for drunk driving in Los Angeles. The actor was convicted and sentenced to 6 months of probation. Unfortunately, this was just one episode in a series of arrests for drunk driving throughout his life. Notably, in 1969, he was arrested for drunk driving in France, and the consequences were more severe, leading to a 1-month jail sentence. Then, during the 1970s, McQueen was accused of being connected to a substance trafficking ring. These allegations were rooted in his association with individuals known to be involved in substance trafficking. However, it's important to note that McQueen was never formally charged with any substance-related crimes, and there was no concrete evidence linking him to such activities. McQueen had a well-earned reputation for being a challenging actor to work with. His tardiness on set, temper tantrums, and penchant for demanding special treatment made him a polarizing figure in the industry. For instance, during the filming of the Thomas Crown Affair, McQueen insisted on a black painted dressing room, a private bathroom in his trailer, and even a swimming pool. Besides his behavior, McQueen's personal life was no stranger to controversy. Despite being married 3 times, he was linked to a plethora of affairs with various women, including famous actresses like Natalie Wood, Sharon Tate, and Jacqueline Bisset. These affairs frequently became tabloid fodder, tarnishing his image as a family man. The 1980s brought further legal troubles for McQueen when he faced charges of tax evasion. He pleaded guilty to failing to report millions of dollars in income to the Internal Revenue Service. As part of his sentence, he was placed on 5 years of probation in order to pay a substantial fine of $250,000. Beyond the specific controversies, McQueen was known for his wild and indulgent lifestyle. He was a heavy smoker and a heavy drinker, which didn't help his image as a Hollywood icon. The impact of controversies and feuds on Steve McQueen's career is a bit of a mixed bag. On one hand, his rebellious and anti-authoritarian image made him a hero to the counterculture movement of the 1960s and 1970s. People loved that he didn't back down and stood up for what he believed in. It gave him a certain appeal with the public. But on the flip side, his penchant for controversies and feuds made him a bit of a pain to work with in Hollywood. He had a bad temper, was often late to set, and could be pretty demanding. This didn't sit well with many of his colleagues in the film industry, and it definitely didn't win him any popularity contests. Despite all the drama, McQueen managed to maintain his status as a popular actor. He had some big hits in his career, including The Great Escape, Bullitt, and The Towering Inferno. He even scored an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor for his role in The Sand Pebbles. But let's not sugarcoat it. The controversies and feuds did take a toll on his career. He missed out on roles because of his reputation for being a handful to work with. Plus, there were some projects that just didn't pan out, like the film Le Mans in 1971, which not only went way over budget, but also got a drubbing from the critics. So, it's not a straightforward story. Steve McQueen's tumultuous life made him a rebel icon with the public, but it also made him a tough colleague in the eyes of many in the industry. His career had its highs and lows, and the controversies and feuds definitely played a role in that roller coaster. Despite the negative aspects of his personal life and his reputation, McQueen was loved by many for his charisma, incredible acting talent, and rebellious spirit. He was also a generous person, always willing to lend a helping hand. Notably, he actively supported civil rights and donated to various charitable causes. Tragically, McQueen's life was cut short by cancer in 1980 at the age of 50. His death was a significant loss to the entertainment industry. His passing was deeply mourned not only by his family, friends, and colleagues, but also by his legions of devoted fans. His wife, Barbara Mincy McQueen, expressed her profound sorrow, stating that his death was the most devastating thing that's ever happened to me. Their close friend, actor Warren Beatty, paid tribute to McQueen as a great actor and a complex and fascinating individual. Director Norman Jewison, who had the privilege of working with McQueen, hailed him as one of the most talented actors he's ever worked with. Beyond his inner circle, McQueen's death resonated with fans all over the world. He served as a role model for many, and his films were a source of inspiration and entertainment for millions. In the wake of his passing, newspapers and magazines overflowed with heartfelt tributes from admirers, reflecting the enduring impact he had on the hearts and minds of people globally. Steve McQueen's legacy as an actor and an icon continues to shine brightly, touching the lives of those who were fortunate to witness his talent on the silver screen. Despite the controversies that surrounded him, his legacy endures throughout his iconic films, which continue to captivate audiences around the world, a testament to his enduring appeal as the king of cool.